Celtic have an interesting week ahead as we take on two very different teams. We have a match against Wraith Rovers in the Scottish Cup 5th round this Saturday, before a huge game against Bayern Munich the following Wednesday. We will discuss the build-up to both these matches, whilst discussing how Celtic will blow Rangers out of the water after a recent £40 million reveal. But first, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content. Celtic manager Brendan Rodgers has discussed his decision to drop Nicholas Kuhn for Jota against Dundee at Celtic Park last night in the Hoops' 6-0 win. It was a decision that may have come as a surprise to some, but given Jota's stoppage-time goal against Motherwell on Sunday at Fir Park, the superstar from Portugal's impact off the bench against the well-left Rodgers with no choice. With Kuhn having played so much football so far this season and Jota far from fully fit, it was a chance to build up fitness, an attempt to get as close to his best match-winning best that he left Celtic with in the summer of 2022. Rodgers' decision ultimately paid off, with Jota picking up an assist and Kuhn scoring off the bench against Tony Docherty's side, with the Irishman revealing why he made the call to name Jota in the starting 11. Rodgers said Jota, made a nice little introduction at the weekend. He's got a chance to start tonight to build up his football fitness and will look to develop that over the coming months. With Dyson Maeda set to miss Bayern Munich in the Champions League at Celtic Park on Wednesday through suspension, that has undoubtedly sped up the process to get Jota fully fit to face Vincent Kompany's side. Despite a stop-start 18 months, Jota is still as effective as ever on the pitch, even if he apparently lacks match sharpness. It's a great battle to have currently, with Maeda, Jota and Kuhn all battling for two spots in the team, with each at times unplayable. Form and injuries are always factors in who starts, and it's an area of the team that Celtic are stronger in coming out of the winter transfer window, unlike the striker position. Now for the main story, as Celtic are set to blow Rangers out of the water in terms of European prize money this season after qualifying for the Champions League knockout round playoffs. That is the view of finance expert Stefan Borson, who exclusively told Football Insider the Scottish champions have already banked more than £40 million from the elite club competition this season. Celtic booked their place in the playoff round after earning 12 points from their 8 matches in the revamped league phase of the Champions League. Brendan Rodgers' side will now face Bayern Munich for a place in the last 16, with the first leg taking place at Celtic Park on the 12th of February. Rangers, meanwhile, made it through to the last 16 of the Europa League after finishing 8th in the table. Borson revealed Celtic will earn significantly more than their old firm rivals from their European exploits this season. I think they are going to get over £40 million this season, Borson told Football Insider. Their turnover last year was £125 million. They did probably something like £32 million from Europe last year. Their big problem is the game is against Bayern Munich, so you would have to say they are almost certainly out. That is clearly not ideal, but they will still do around £40 million. That is obviously very significant for them because the domestic is just over a tenth of that. It dwarfs the domestic deal, so they are just in a different world from the rest of the league. Rangers will obviously generate some revenue from the Europa League, but it's just not comparable. The £40 million for getting this far is clearly very significant, and it just gives them a massive advantage. That's why the Champions League is just so important these days for Scottish football, when you have got a domestic TV deal that's just a fraction of it. In other news, Celtic are set to name their Champions League squad for the knockout stages. With 3 players having left Celtic over the last month, Kyogo, Stephen Welsh, Lewis Palmer and Alex Valle all drop out, with Jota, Johnny Kenny and Jeffrey Schlupp all added. However, with Welsh out, Celtic can only add 3 players to the knockout squad, with Dane Murray instead being listed as a B-list player, meaning he could yet play a part for the Hoops without counting as an addition. Most supporters would have hoped that it would be a new signing replacing Kyogo in the Champions League knockout squad, but it is instead Johnny Kenny, with the Irish striker set to be given a huge opportunity against Bayern Munich over 2 legs. Kenny may not start each game, but could play a part off the bench. For a player who was playing in the Conference League for Shamrock Rovers during the first 6 months of the season, this is a big step up. Jeffrey Schlupp, who made his Celtic debut the other night against Dundee at Celtic Park, could play a vital role for Celtic, with Alex Valle often coming off the bench in European games to add a different dimension at left-back. With Schlupp's physicality and pace, it is a different option for Brendan Rodgers to have. Jota for Luis Palma is arguably the biggest positive change in the Champions League squad, with the superstar from Portugal marking his second Celtic Park debut last night with a wonderful assist for Dyson Maida's first goal. In other news, St Mirren boss Stephen Robinson has revealed that he believes Scottish referees need to start working on a full-time basis if they are to stop making errors in games and when using VAR. With Brendan Rodgers having spent much of his career in England, Premier League officials across the border are full-time, not part-time like they are in Scotland, meaning that they have other jobs during the week before refereeing at weekends. It's a no-brainer as to one of the reasons why the level of officiating in the country is so often criticised for simplistic errors. With Celtic often on the end of refereeing mistakes, Robinson himself feels his St Mirren side have been similarly affected this season. He said, "Referees need help, everybody needs help, we're human, everybody makes mistakes. That has always been the case in football. We want help for referees. They do the very, very best with what they can, and making them full-time, giving them more help with VAR, putting more money into that area is a no-brainer for me." In the current format, everybody wants it improved. Every club's had decisions go for them, go against them. How do you do that? People doing that on a full-time basis, exposing themselves to decisions every minute of every day in referee training. Rodgers' idea is one that most managers would agree with. However, sadly, the funding appears to be the reason why referees aren't full-time at the time of writing. If it were to change, the SFA needs to find the funding. However, given the length of time it took for VAR to be implemented in Scotland, it was yet another example of the Scottish governing body dragging their heels due to what they believe is a costly addition to the game. The quality of games has been affected by VAR. However, VAR is not the issue itself. Instead, it's referees at times using it incorrectly with the decisions they come to. However, if this is to change, undoubtedly, officials need to become full-time, as Rodgers rightly previously suggested. Lastly, Adam Montgomery's loan move to Queen's Park may have slipped under the radar, confirmed just 15 minutes into Celtic's 6-0 win over Dundee, but the young defender could be thrown straight into the spotlight with a potential debut against Rangers at Ibrox this weekend. The 22-year-old left-back, who joined Queen's Park on loan until the end of the season, is in line for a baptism of fire as his new side face Rangers in the Scottish Cup on Sunday at 3:30 p.m. While Montgomery's exit from Celtic didn't grab headlines amid the excitement of Wednesday night's dominant win, his first appearance for Queen's Park could hardly come in a more intense environment. An Ibrox debut in a cup tie against Rangers is as tough as it gets, a real test of character for the defender who's looking to kickstart his career after injuries hampered his progress. Montgomery spent the first half of the season with Celtic but failed to make a senior appearance. Now he'll get the chance to play regular football under Callum Davidson, with whom he previously worked at St Johnstone. Having had loan spells at Aberdeen, St Johnstone, Fleetwood and Motherwell, Montgomery knows the demands of first-team football. But facing Rangers at Ibrox is another level. For Montgomery, this is the perfect opportunity to prove himself, not just to Queen's Park, but to Celtic fans watching closely. A strong performance at Ibrox could remind everyone of the potential he showed when he first broke into the Celtic first team under Ange Postecoglou. Celtic fans, what are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let us know down in the comments section below. That does bring us to the end of today's video. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content. Thank you